What's up, everybody? Coming to you live once again from my parents' house and a new camera angle. Coming to you from a new camera angle. If you're watching on YouTube, we got episode 19 here of the Changavi Show. Welcome. For those of you that are new, I am Anuj Changavi, the host of this wonderful, beautiful show, aka the internet troll with the face. Shout out to you on YouTube again. You can see my little tagline today. Listen, we got a lot to talk about today. But I think the main thing that you all are probably wondering is like, how the hell did all of this stuff change? All the social media platform names changed, the link tree, everything. There was a little change, guys. There was a little change. Today is the day of change. And I'm recording this like 2 days before, but today is the day of change. So let's get right into it. The big announcement. Listen, hello, everyone. We are now officially the Changavi Show. This is no longer the Essential Question podcast. This is no longer, me asking questions and interviewing people. I'm egotistical, so I decided to just name the show after myself and say, screw it, let's try this new format. I started trying it, and 6 months later, here we are. We're going full time with the Changavi Show. But there's probably going to be a lot of questions, so let me just get into it real quick. I think one of the main questions people are probably wondering is like, are we ever going to see interviews again? And I think the answer to that question is honestly yes. Maybe at some point. I think they're going to be in a little bit different of a format than the question and really sticking to a structure. Will they happen? Absolutely. They're learning from people and having conversations is integral to all of us opening our perspectives. So interviews will happen. At what point? I cannot tell you. I right now in the last 5 months have not been in the headspace to do interviews and to do podcasts, so thus I have not released any interviews as of recently. But maybe at some point down the line we will get interviews. I do not know when that point is. So yeah, that's that. The Essential Question podcast logo and name, though, will no longer be in use. That is dead. To put that to rest. It died today. We are now in the Changavi Show era of the Changavi Show. So welcome to it. We're in new life. This is 2022, baby. First show of 2022. We got to change things. Come on. So the name is changed. I'm now going by the Changavi Show. That is my podcast name. It is the Changavi Show, not the Essential Question podcast. It is the Changavi Show. All social media platforms will be the Changavi Show. We're changing that. All the logos have changed. So I'm going to go through and edit all of those. And I decided to do this because I was feeling really stagnant in the podcast stuff. I started doing interviews and I definitely was getting a lot of traction on those interviews, which was amazing. And don't get me wrong, like I loved it. And interviews like taught me so much. Like I learned a lot from a lot of different people, and I got to have conversations with like some of the people that I never expected I'd even get to talk to in a trillion years. I was having full on hour and a half long talks with. So that is amazing. And I'm forever grateful for the people that volunteered at first to be on my podcast, and also those that took time out of their very busy lives to be on my podcast. So thank you. But it is now the Changavi Show, and the format's going to be a little different. It's kind of, what you've been seeing the last 6 months, a lot of Changavi shows, not a lot of interviews. We're just getting rid of the Essential Question podcast name and giving it giving the Changavi Show its own look, its feel. And we're changing the name, baby. That's what we're doing. So make sure that you don't unfollow me. It's the same show. We're doing the same stuff. I just changed the name. So let's relax. Okay. Nothing crazy is happening here. So for those of you that are like, freaking out and saying, oh my God, like, what is this? Why is everything changing? It's not. Let's chill. Everything's good. Vibes are good. Everything is exquisite. So do not worry. You need not worry about anything. And yeah, that's what I'll say about that. That's the big announcement. I'm so excited for this new chapter. Welcome to the Changavi Show era of my life. Hopefully this is the one. It sticks forever. I think it will. But yeah, from here on forward, we're going with the Changavi Show. So welcome to the new era. I hope you guys also dig this camera angle. I was like fiddling around with the setup earlier today, and I found like this was, kind of nice to look at. I know like my glasses really glare, so I'm gonna like turn down the brightness hella on my computer, so you guys can see my beautiful eyes. But yeah, okay, that's the big announcement, and I'm rambling now, so that's besides the point. So let's get right into the show. How are we doing? It's 2022, guys. It is 2022. We are in a whole new freaking year here. So what's going on? How am I? New Year's resolution. I'm I'm doing good. And a lot of my friends and coworkers have called me out for saying, "Oh my God, on this segment, all you say is you're doing good. So please say something different." So I'm going to. Honestly, headed into the new year, 2022. I'm very excited. Don't get me wrong. Like when I went to bed on January 1st, I was like, "Oh baby, 365 days to make some more progress. Fuck yeah, let's go. Let's go." But I'm also scared. You, you know, uh 2022, I already know is going to be a year of a lot of change. I'll potentially not, later on this year, I potentially won't be in this bedroom recording podcasts. I may be in another location, TBD. We'll see on that. So that's, an exciting new chapter, but also comes with a little bit of anxiousness for sure. I've been here for 2 years. I'm like one of the Corona kids that's been stuck in pandemic mode, and I've kind of found this weird way to adjust to it. So I'm very appreciative of it, to be honest. Um, I am 21 now, which is like, yes, that means party time. And like I can get into bars and clubs and I can basically do every activity that is legal in the United States of America without age being a problem. But I hate responsibility. Like I feel like the older I get, the more like social and like cultural responsibilities are put on me, and I freaking despite. I like dislike it. I'm like, oh no, I'm turning into like what I hated. Like this is awful. This is the worst thing that could have possibly ever happened to me. So I don't know about all that, but we will see. I'm gonna try and be the cool kid who is acts 6, but in reality is like 20, 21, whatever, right? So we'll see. But responsibility is scary, and I feel like every kind of young adult goes through this phase where they don't want to deal with it and you run away from it, but it'll come back to bite you. I feel like it's going to come back to bite me in the ass somehow. So we'll see in what capacity it does. New Year's resolutions. This is a big one, right? I feel like a lot of people, and I kind of addressed this on my late night story, was like, like I feel like a lot of people are expecting me as a up and coming content creator to have like a very specific set of goals. And last year I did, and I didn't meet any of those goals. And back in high school, I used to keep very detailed journals of what goals I wanted, and I used to fail at every single one. So I've realized that like the years I do keep these very intricate lists of goals, I never meet them because I'm just like, ugh, like it's so like, thing. It's I feel like this year I want to try a different approach to New Year's resolutions. And that like I'm not gonna be like, I want to do this. I'm just gonna be like, all right, I'm not gonna write it down. I'm not gonna keep myself accountable to a very specific schedule that gets boring in 3 weeks and I'm gonna quit. I am just going to find the self motivation within myself to do little things that I think would benefit my life and see how I feel after them. I'm not going to put any pen to paper. I'm not going to make sure there's goals. There's no specific numbers for me to hit. Even with the podcast, I don't have a specific number of followers I want to hit at the end of the year. I don't have a specific number of plays I want on an episode, right? Of course, I would like to have 20,000 views an episode. Like that would be fantastic, but that's not a realistic goal. At the end, like my plan with this podcast, I have no like real goals with this for 2022. What I want to do is I want to release as many episodes as I can, release as much content as I can, and just make sure that I am staying on top of my stuff. That's it. If I can do that, I'll be perfectly happy. There's no number, you know. I guess like the only real number I have with my content this year is like I want to do this thing called the 365-day challenge, where every single day I'm posting something. Whatever that may be. It could be one of those like 15-second hot take clips where I'm just like lip singing to some random rap song and like calling out a hot take, or it could be a late night question, or it could be making one of these, or it could be like making a TikTok. So just like very simple things. If I can put out one clip a day some sort of content every day, I'd be happy. I'd be very content with myself uh, as to, me being involved with this whole thing. So that's my goal, I guess. I guess that's like my one numerical goal, the 365-day challenge. If I put a little bit of content out every single day. But can we talk about how my 2022 began? Can we talk about how my 2022 began for just a second? Yeah, I told you like the whole, oh yeah, it's pretty, whatever, abnormal New Year's party, blah blah blah. Trey Lance saw my Instagram story. Trey Lance saw my Instagram story. And listen, I am not one to be like, oh, a celebrity saw my Instagram story when I tagged them, right? Like it's not a very big deal in the grand scheme of things, right? Trey Lance is not going to respond to me. Trey Lance is not going to see this, clip. Even if I put it up on TikTok, he's going to be like, who the hell is this little, this tall Indian kid that is my age that's clearly a loser while I'm making hella money and he's not. Doesn't matter. Trey Lance still viewed my Instagram story, and I thought that was pretty cool. He kind of get the, he saw a couple of my TikTok slides of how I was talking about his takeaways and how I love him and how I love his potential and all that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I just thought that was like a cool flex of like, the future quarterback of the 49ers. However long it lasts, we don't know. It's still very early on into his tenure and his experience. So we'll see. But he saw my Instagram story. So I just thought that was like a great way to like start the year. Like that was one of the first things that happened. January 2nd, Trey Lance views my Instagram story. I was like, okay. And then like right after that, like I saw like I hit a new high in plays. So it was like, this year's already gotten off to a pretty good start. So let's keep that momentum running and we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm so excited for this year. I'll tell you that much. I cannot wait. But that's enough about me. Okay. Can we talk about some like relevant stuff that's going on? We were talking about Trey Lance, right? I mean, obviously he had a great start, and I don't want to go on and on about it because you can see that on Twitter. I'm public on Twitter at @Changavi. You want to follow me? Go for it. Also, it will be the Changavi Show now on Twitter. So go follow that too. I don't really post much, but I'm trying to. Okay, let's and really been the sports topic on everybody's mind for like the last fucking 3 days. Antonio Brown. Let me tell you something. In my lifetime, I have not seen an athlete have a crazy meltdown like the way AB had on Sunday. Terrell Owens with the popcorn happened in the 90s. I wasn't alive, right? John McEnroe, when he would melt down, you cannot be serious. That ball was on the line. 60s or the 70s. Also, very different contexts. Antonio Brown has had a history of doing this, okay, in a wide variety of contexts, in that, like, he has not been one to shy away from scandal. He is a dramatic guy. He has been labeled a diva receiver. That's kind of what he is. For those of you that don't know, Antonio Brown, okay, on Sunday was playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a wide receiver, and it was what I saw, right? No journalists had done any digging. This was happening live. I'll tell you what exactly happened live. Antonio Brown was on the sideline. He appeared to be talking to some coaches. A teammate suddenly started to hold him back, and then all of a sudden, Antonio Brown just took off his jersey, threw it on the bench, had like an undershirt underneath that, took it off, threw it into the stands, basically was shirtless, running and dancing through the end zone, holding up the little deuces sign, and then just ran into his locker room. Or his team's locker room. That was basically what we saw. Obviously, there have been a lot more reports stating more to that context. Reports saying that his meltdown was due to the fact that people claimed, or that he claimed he was hurt and he couldn't go back in the game, but the team cleared him to go back in the game and they said he was fine, but he didn't think he was fine personally. So yeah, that's the story that the reporters are giving, and I think that's true. Okay, and Antonio Brown released a statement today that basically said, like, I am not, what's it called? He said, I am not. He said, like, I was hurt the whole time. I was hurt. I could, like, it was a very painful injury. There was breaks in my ankle, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the coaching staff didn't want to admit that. Blah blah blah. Basically, like a whole indictment on the team and stuff like that. The truth is, Antonio Brown is the only one that's going to know what the full story is. No one else can tell you what the answer is to this whole Antonio Brown problem. Not Ian Rappaport, not Adam Schefter. Antonio Brown is the only person that can really tell you from the bottom of our hearts what exactly happened to him on that day. Okay. And a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people really throw out this mental health buzzword, at least initially when the initial reports were coming out. A lot of people were throwing out mental health. I feel like this is a very dangerous word to throw out because it's assuming a lot. The term mental health, especially in today's society, is a very loaded term. And there are a lot of, also there are a lot of like semantics that come with mental health. And people were talking about how Antonio Brown may have like BPD and all this stuff. I don't think you can go on the record and, give a diagnosis when you're not a psychiatrist, when you haven't had these cognitive evaluations, or if you haven't even sat in on a therapy session with Antonio Brown. I don't think anyone is credible to even like go that far when it comes to mental health. Can you say maybe mental health was an issue in this circumstance? Totally. At least like based on his prior history as well. So for those of you that don't know, Antonio Brown has had prior history of scandal. Okay, this is not some new event. This is not the first time this has happened. He was expelled from college, his first college, Florida International, for doing something. I don't exactly remember the incident at Florida International. But he came into the league through several temper tantrums in Pittsburgh, which was his first team. There was a lot of drama going on there. He eventually left the team via trade. They traded him Oakland. In Oakland, there's a lot of drama with his helmet. He basically didn't want to be in Oakland with the Raiders. He was there for all but a training camp. He basically went into a cryogenic chamber without slippers, and he froze both his feet. So he said he couldn't play, and he was released and cut by the team by the time training camp, the preseason was over in Oakland. He also has been accused of sexual assault. So when he got to New England, he played one game. They found out the sexual assault reports, and they released him. He's also faked vaccine cards, which he did this year. He was suspended for, I believe, 2 or 3 games for that. And so, yeah, this temper tantrum he threw on the side was one of many tantrums and affairs that he has been a part of that have not been appropriate. Okay. It was shocking, obviously, in the moment, because you didn't know what the hell was going on. Obviously, with context, like, it makes more and more sense. Am I saying Antonio Brown is correct? No. Am I saying that reporters are correct? Maybe. I think it's somewhere in between. I think, yes, in football is a violent sport, and football is also a business. So the teams do have an interest in getting their marquee players out there, especially when you're in the midst of trying to gain a better playoff seed and you need to win these games. So Antonio Brown is going to be pushed out onto that field. Okay. If his ankle injury is minor, he's going to get pushed out. It's the fact of the matter. It's football. They're going to say, oh, it's a sprain. Oh, well, you can walk, so get out on the field because you're Antonio Brown. You're one of the best talents we've ever seen at the wide receiver position, and we need you so we can clinch a seat in the playoffs, so we can make money and put fans' butts in the seats, etc., etc. At the end of the day, sports is a business, and Antonio Brown is a marquee star in not a marquee star anymore, but a highlight attraction on a star-studded Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that's looking to win a back-to-back Super Bowls with their star quarterback, Tom Brady. Antonio Brown is a cog in the business. That's what this is. That's what this came down to. That's why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were acting from that place. But Antonio Brown said he was too hurt to play. And that's where I understand this side, the player's side, which is, sometimes in football, they throw you out there when you have Baker Mayfield was playing with a torn labrum. Okay, he was playing with a torn labrum this NFL season, which is an incredibly painful injury. Okay, that you have a bone torn in your shoulder. He's getting surgery this week, as we speak. It's like a 10-week recovery process. Football players get hurt. No one is 100% healthy headed into the playoffs. It's a fact. But still, coaches are forcing their guys out there because they need them to make the playoffs, so their job is secure for the next year, so that they have a chance at that elusive Super Bowl. So it's a very interesting conversation to have because you can see both sides. Sports is a business, but also the players are, they're hurt and they're trying to protect their own personal interests so that maybe later on in life they can have a life. Did I think at first Antonio Brown threw a temper tantrum? Absolutely. 100%. I'm with that. But upon further research and maybe upon his statement, do I think about it differently? A little bit. I'm not sympathizing with Antonio Brown, but I'm not like saying that for sure, like he was 100% healthy. Because this shit happens in the NFL. This shit happens in every sport. When you're unhealthy, you're unhealthy. And the truth is, Antonio Brown is the only one in his body. So he's the only one that can tell you how he feels. That's it. that's the fact of this whole thing. This is how the situation plays out. But Antonio Brown, it's a crazy situation. A lot of stuff going on there. And obviously, I will update you guys if I hear more information. But my take on it is honestly just, he's done this before. He does have the tendencies of throwing these little tantrums, and we will see to what extent he, this whole thing goes, because it's going to be interesting. Okay, so to completely transition from Antonio, but not transfer. This isn't a freaking college application portal. To go from Antonio Brown, let's talk about TV, because that's pop culture. And over the break, I was able to catch up on some really cool TV shows. And I want to talk about one of them in particular, and I want to talk about a genre in particular, because this particular show that I'm about to talk about is within this genre of dark comedy. Dark comedy is a genre that I think, with cancel culture and with this Me Too movement, has been kind of thrown to the side, because it's seen as, breaking the lines, breaking these societal correctness, political correctness matrices, right? Matrices. Ooh, that's a word we haven't used on the pod. Matrices. But dark comedy is something that really we haven't seen in this day and age. So, or in the last 5, 6, 7 years, until Barry came out, really, in 2018. I didn't watch Barry till 2021, end of last year. So I cannot say like I was the first one to find this show. This is an incredible show. It's been nominated for Emmys. It's a great show. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that know what Barry is, but for those of you that don't know, it's basically about a hitman. So someone who is paid to kill people, an assassin, who develops this passion for acting and for the theater, in particular. And so it's kind of this discovering that dichotomy of this immensely dark person, but he loves this super light and fun passion, right? So it's interesting. And Barry is really one of those shows that, in my opinion, it's very out there. It's strange and weird in that it's not like you expect it to go one way, but it's not. And the show isn't, I can't call it a comedy. Like, if you're expecting this to be like Big Bang Theory type jokes, where they're sitting around a dinner table and, using one line wisecracks, this isn't a sitcom. But this also isn't like a True Detective Breaking Bad type show. It's kind of this middle ground where there is humor and little wisecracks and very physical comedy, but the comedy is present, but it's not necessarily super serious either, even though the themes in the show and a lot of the actions taken by characters are really dark. It stars Bill Hader, who's absolutely phenomenal in this show. His acting job in this show is, it's great. I can't lie, I'd never really seen Bill Hader on a big stage before, in terms of, I don't really watch a lot of Bill Hader. I'd seen him in Superbad. He played cop number 2, forget his name, and he was really funny in that. But he's does such a good job in this show as Barry. He's the main character. He kind of carries the show with his acting, and I think he does a really great job with that. Another character that that has quickly become one of my favorite characters on TV is this guy NoHo Hank, played by Anthony Carrigan. This guy's really good. He's one of my favorite. He's one of the best characters, I think, on TV right now. The way that they portray this guy, he's like a Chechnyan mob boss, but he doesn't really fit into that archetype, right? He's trying to be a mob boss when in reality he's this very sensitive, like loving man. And he has to like fit into this like very tough Chechnyan culture when like that is the opposite of who he is as a person, right? He is like the classic LA like Hollywood life guy. So it's just very interesting. Like his whole like I think this show does a really good job of like exploring the dichotomies of individuals in that like it's showing one aspect of them like on the outside like that they're supposed to be, but on the inside it's like you're a completely different person. So it's really cool. The guy, NoHo Hank, is hilarious. He definitely carries, I would say, like a lot of the humorous aspects of the show, which is really fun. And he makes the show a lot of fun. It does the Barry does have a lot of Dexter vibes in that, it is like the hitman or it is about like killing, but also, like being a normal human being and stuff like that. And but it's way darker, I'd say, because Dexter is more of like Dexter was Showtime, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, but it did run on cable TV for a while, so it felt like it was a lot lighter. But Barry is much darker, I think, and it's probably due to the fact that it is HBO, and a lot of the themes touched on it are definitely very mature. There's only 2 seasons out right now, both on HBO Max. Watch both seasons. Very quick binge, like 20 to 30-minute episodes, pretty quick. They are a little emotionally taxing. Are someone who definitely can take a lot of break. It's funny, but it's not. And this is where I want to talk about dark comedy, right? The genre of dark comedy is something that is very hard to make effective because because it can be done really well when you're able to balance these really dark themes with like the balance like with just humor. And this show like tackles a lot of taboo things in society, right? Things like murder, violence, death, all of that stuff. And it makes light of it. But at the same time, it also does a really good job of being very I don't know how to say it does a good job of making it lighthearted. And so you almost forget that what the characters are doing is super fucked up and dark, but you don't realize it until you like get way deeper into the show. And like it like you because the characters are just being funny, and like also like that the situations that they're in are really funny. Dark comedy used to be a thing when I was a kid, right? Like back in 2006, 2007, 2008, there were shows like Chuck, and of course we talked about Dexter. And if you haven't seen Weeds, which is like about the suburban mom who becomes a drug dealer, or a weed dealer, right? And like those were really good at just tackling issues, whether it be related to drugs or crime or killing or whatever, and balancing that with comedy. And the genre dipped, and I think it's really due to because of this fact that in society today we are asked to be socially, what's it called, like we're asked to be like socially woke, and if you talk about certain things like you're crossing lines. That's what we saw with Chappelle, right? um Obviously like people will argue like, oh, Chappelle was attacking a community, but I think like with dark comedy you can't go there. In a lot of like society is far too sensitive in today's day and age where you cannot like be dark and make jokes about a lot of things without people looking at you and being like, bro, what the F? Like a lot of people, I know Pete Davidson is more so known for his like the girls he's dated versus his comedy, but Pete Davidson has an incredibly dark and fucked up sense of humor, and I love it. I love Pete Davidson. And I love that, like, and he does stand up about 9/11 because it's the way he copes with it since his father died, and in the putting out the fire of the World Trade Center and stuff. So, but that like my point is that like Pete Davidson, his comedy I think would do so much better in 2008 than it does now. Because I think a lot of people just, I'm not saying Pete Davidson isn't successful, but a lot of people just aren't big Pete Davidson stand-up fans. They know him because of his relevance in pop culture, but not necessarily because of his comedic career. And I think a lot of people don't like Pete Davidson's sense of humor because it's edgy and it talks about issues that people are a little uncomfortable by. And I think it's good to get uncomfortable, particularly when it comes to humor, because it can make you think. And that's just my opinion. And I think dark comedy is something that I want to see more of, because especially in today's society, there's a lot to critique. we can do a lot of dark comedy. I hope to see more dark comedy. If you guys have any good dark comedy shows, movies, anything, hit me up. I love the genre. In terms of Barry, it's locked in for seasons 3 and 4 at least, so that's exciting. 2 more seasons if you guys are into it. Hoping though other shows do follow suit, like I said, and because Barry's really well done and it's really good and it tackles a lot of very dark shit, but it's funny and it makes you laugh, but it also makes you think. And those types of shows are the ones that are the best. And Bill Hader and Barry and the whole writing staff and the directors do a really good job. Highly recommend this show. Available on HBO Max. I'm not a fucking commercial, but definitely go check out Barry if you are looking for a show to watch, something that's a little lighthearted but also makes you think. Barry, highly recommend it. But dark comedy, yes, it has gone out of style. I want to talk about another aspect of sort of pop culture, because this thing has not been it was the shit like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, if you remember. December of 2018, there was this thing that came out called Black Mirror Bandersnatch. I don't know if you guys remember exactly what that was, but basically what it was it was this it was based in Black Mirror. It was like a movie, but you could pick the character's various decisions that he made throughout the movie. There were like different cutscenes, blah blah blah, but you could make a choice and see what fate the character ended up doing. And there were like a variety of different paths you could go down, and they led to a variety of different outcomes and all of this stuff. And it took like an hour 15 minutes to play each time. But it was like you were playing a video game and watching a movie. And it was awesome. It was the talk of the town for about 3 weeks. People loved it. It went viral all over the internet. People were talking about how this is going to be the future of movies, how we're making decisions, and like being in the movie versus passively consuming it. And then interactive entertainment just kind of dipped. It wasn't there. It was just non-present for a very long time. My senior year of high school, it was the craze, Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, all of that stuff. But I really expected that by the time we'd be in 2022, like we are now, the genre probably should have taken a couple of steps. You know, Bandersnatch came out way back in 2018, and there were critiques with it. Like, I critiqued the fact that like there were only like 2 things you could do. A lot of it was out of your control, but I expected, this was a good first step in the right direction. We were going to get more interactive entertainment as we went down the road. But nothing really has hit the marketplace as of recently that's like taken over mainstream media. It was a lot of fun, and I I was just kind of, it was just something that popped in the back of my head the other day. I was like, whatever happened to like shows like Black Mirror, Bandersnatch? And there are a few. I look at you go on Netflix right now, and there are a few. Like Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt did like a TV movie that's interactive, and you can go and make some of the decisions that the characters make and all of this stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's still there. Like I'm not saying that it's not like it's just dipped off the face of the earth, but I don't think it's really advanced as a genre and has like captured mass attention amongst different groups of people. I feel like if anyone could have really seen this pandemic coming, I mean, we're 2 years into the pandemic, like movies are shooting again. Like, I feel like people should really get into this interactive stuff, because I feel like this type of entertainment, if it was making like big changes, in 2019, 2020, you could have really seen this shit take off during the pandemic. That's the type of stuff like you could spend time with your family and watch TV and make decisions about your favorite characters and all of these things. Like, it's a big thing. And it's kind of shocking that we haven't seen it in the viral marketplace as of recently. And this is like, it got me thinking, like, did it test badly? Was it poor? Was Bandersnatch maybe not as hyped as I thought it was? But at the same time, like, I feel like if it tested badly, like, we would know about it, right? We would just be like, oh, this shit sucks. Like, ha, ha, ha. Like, there would be internet stuff about it. But people on the internet seemed very, like, positively rating Bandersnatch and the various interactive entertainment options. But yeah, it's been like 4 years. There's nothing really of note so far. And I would like there to be something that comes out. Another thing I was thinking about was like, what if there was an interactive version of like Squid Games? Dude, if Squid Games was like an interactive decision and you could make the choices of the games and like, play along while watching it as well, Don't you think? You know how fucking popular that would be? The South Korean film TV makers or TV producers and directors that were making Squid Games would have made 18 times the money that they probably have now if it was interactive. I feel like an interactive version of Squid Games would blow the hell up. If you guys want to see that, if I just suggested the idea of the year, please share this with everyone. Please, at the Changavi Show, share the account. Tell them I'm coming up with all the good stuff. But I don't know, interactive entertainment, whatever happened to it? It kind of dipped, and God knows where it is now. I would love to know. It's definitely a mystery. So let's see. We still got a lot of topics to talk about though. So I'm not going to just talk about Bandersnatch and interactive entertainment for the whole time. Let's get into some music. Some vibes, some vibes. And speaking of vibes, let's talk about Bollywood. Bollywood music being Indian American. That's the topic of today. Listen, Bollywood music. I don't really talk a lot about Indian music on this show for good reason, because I don't have a lot of knowledge in it. I'm not someone who can, quote song titles off my top of my head like that. I'm someone who could quote different historical, obscure, very historical facts, or talk about, the amount of passing yards that Alex Smith had in 2007. But I cannot talk about Bollywood music. I want to talk about it for a second because this is a super interesting topic, as it has a cultural significance to it, for me at least, right? I think growing up, I really hated Bollywood music, right? I was someone who was like, oh my God, Dad, why are you just transporting me back to your childhood? I don't want to listen to Kishore Kumar. Who are these people? This sucks. Let me play Fetty Wap and destroy my life, right? Okay, that was me as a child. But I think now, and over the last few years, I've developed sort of an appreciation for Bollywood music where I do understand it a lot. And I like the music, but I don't understand Hindi all that well. Okay, I understand a few words and phrases here and there, but I don't understand it really well. And so it feels like I'm listening to this music, right? At least with like reggaeton and like Spanish music, like I can make out like a good amount of it. So it's like I kind of know what they're saying. But with Hindi music, like it's tough. It's just like it sounds great, and it's like, oh, this is hype and shit, and this is fun. But it's like, what is this? It doesn't go in. Some of these like beautiful love songs are just so nice to listen to, but I have no idea what they're saying. They could be saying like, I'm going hard all day, right, in Hindi, and I would have no idea that they said that. It's kind of crazy if I think about it like that. But I definitely am very, very open about listening to Bollywood music. I have a big Bollywood playlist in my, what's it called? My Spotify. So definitely go check that out if you're into it. Anuj Changavi on Spotify. Check it. And I used to keep it in secret. I used to be like, oh my God, no one can know I listen to Bollywood music and I'm actually into my culture because I'm a self-hating Indian boy. But now I'm, much more open to it, and I tell people. Again, like, and the thing is, like, I'm not even a big fan of Bollywood movies. I don't like the movies all that much. I think they got a long way to go if they want to catch Bollywood. There's a couple really unique Bollywood movies that I can, think of, but not a lot of them are like really like freaking entertaining movies that I would pick over watching like my favorite Hollywood movies. In my opinion, I respect if you say like I love Bollywood and like it's my favorite genre. Although like it's just I feel like it's just the same stories, just told in a different language and over dramatized a little bit. But that's my opinion. I feel like, they still got a lot of catching up to do when it comes to films and stuff. But the music is fun and it's fire, and it's just like tunes that people can like bump to. And that's why like white girls are bumping to this shit in the club in Chicago or wherever, white girls are in the club. I've seen like Bollywood songs kind of go hard in these like, very trendy venues. So they want to listen, the whites want to listen to our music. So like all my Indian boys that are self-hating, like, yo, they're listening to it. They're listening to it, okay? It's cool now. Y'all can come out of the closet and just, sing Bollywood love ballads. You'll get all the girls you want. Okay. But it's cool. It's cool to have seen like my appreciation for Bollywood music come full circle, as someone who was like very anti it, to someone that was like in secret and like in the closet, to now someone who's out. So this is my official out, guys. I listen to Bollywood music as an Indian American. And I have a playlist. It's called Bollywood Vibes Only. So go check it out. But it is cool. And I think it's like one of those weird things within the culture where it's like one of those like battles. No, it's not a battle. This was like something super little, but like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I kind of changed there. You know, it's like, wow, it kind of went a little full circle. So that was pretty cool. Just want to talk a little bit about that. It wasn't really a crazy topic or anything. I didn't have any takes per se of Bollywood music. You know, I don't hate it. I don't love it. I mean, like I like it. I don't. Is it my favorite genre of music? Like, if I had to go to a genre of music and listen to it for the rest of my life, would it be Bollywood music? No, probably not. Probably not. I like a lot of Bollywood songs. I wouldn't say like, oh, I'm just gonna listen to Bollywood music my whole life and like I could live off Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, off Ye Jawani Hai Deewani music, right? Like, nah, right? I'd probably pick Drake still. But it is definitely in my rotation, is what I would say. It's in my rotation, and I'm content with that place as to where Bollywood music is. Okay, Bollywood music, enough of Bollywood music. Can we get back to reality and talk about the news, Anuj? Okay. The Twitter has been in the news again recently, guys. Twitter. People just be tweeting all day, including myself, you know. A shout out to me and my 900 tweets calling the various 49er quarterbacks for the most part out and stepping over Steph Curry. Follow me on my personal Twitter at Changavi if you want to. All my tweets are public anyway, so I don't care. Anyway, we got to talk about not my Twitter account, but am I saying her name right? Marjorie Taylor Greene's Twitter account. Okay, for those of you that don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a representative from the state of Georgia. She's a government official. She's in Congress. She does a lot of stuff related to that. And she basically would go on the record on Twitter and post a lot of misleading information about vaccinations, about statistics regarding vaccinations, about QAnon, which is basically this like super right group that has a lot of conspiracy theories. She would retweet a lot of this information and spread it like it was fact, when in reality it wasn't. And so Twitter's action was to take her account and say, fuck you, bye-bye, you're out, and basically left her in the dust. Okay, so I'm going to get to what I feel about Marjorie Taylor Greene's situation, but I kind of want to talk about Twitter's accountability standards and social media's accountability standards to begin with. I understand that misinformation gets spread on a daily basis. It does, okay? It's going to happen no matter what. It doesn't matter if it's Marjorie Taylor Greene or freaking Hunter from North Carolina with 2 followers, okay? He's going to be spreading fake news. People spread fake news. It is what it is, okay? But it's about the following. Completely understand that. Totally. But Twitter has to develop a system of accountability. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram has to develop a system of accountability if you want this shit to succeed. Okay, if you want there to actually be some consequences for this. And I'm not saying like arrest people for posting, you know, freaking hate speech on IG or whatever. Like sure, you know, I don't think they should be arrested, but that's your opinion. I understand that in the case of like Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was spreading QAnon theories and stuff that was not true. It's factually incorrect, misinformation about vaccines, things of that stuff. But I think there needs to be something similar. And hear me out. I think there needs to be something similar to like the 3 strikes law. So California back in the 1990s, when it came to drug crimes, had a law called the 3 strikes law, where basically like if you so basically like each strike would be like a progressively more unfair, like progressively harsher punishment until you got to the 3rd strike, then you were in prison for life. So it's kind of like that, right? So like the 1st strike would just be like a little slap on the wrist. And the 2nd strike would be like, okay, like this is a little more serious. And then the 3rd strike would be like, all right, fuck out of here. I think Twitter needs to put something, Twitter, social media, both need to put something a little bit like that into place. And I feel like it could be used, and I think it would be used very beneficially. So here's what I mean. Okay, so something similar, like a kind of like a 3 strikes thing that I came up with, particularly when it came to big platformed creators. So I'm assuming you're verified. Okay, this is my 3 strikes law. So the 1st strike law. So the 1st strike could be like a warning on your account, like a physical bulletin placed on like your bio or whatever, and you can inhibit the user from posting for a couple of days. Okay, so you could just kind of like stop that. Basically they couldn't like it was suspended. It'd be suspended for an X amount of time. Okay. Second strike could basically be like taking the verified marker away. This is one I think that Twitter needs to use more. So I was going through like Twitter's verification rules. You can get verified, whatever, like normally, blah, 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 like based on, different sort of things. But stripping away of verification is something that happens very, 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 very rarely, if not at all. They don't strip the verified marker away. The verified marker is what gives these accounts credibility. Majority Taylor Greene without the blue check mark would look like a fool if she was writing like U.S. House official and stuff in her bio. Excuse me, I need to drink some water. Sorry, the throat once again. But I feel like if you take away the blue check mark, you take away a significant amount of credibility. If you're like, oh my God, I'm in the U.S. House of Representatives, everyone's gonna be like, bro, where's your check mark? You're not an official politician. You're not real. Like that blue check mark has a lot more social currency than like anyone gives it credit for, in my opinion. I think a lot of people could be like, you're fucking wrong, whatever. But I think it 100% in today's society with the blue, if you have a blue check, people listen to you. You have a blue check and you comment on some rando's post, that rando is going to get 1,800 likes on their tweet. Okay. The blue check has social clout and the blue check is in people's minds. It's a truth. Okay. And if you take that away as the second strike, that's big. That's a big hit on your platform. I think a lot of people would unfollow you if the blue check got taken away. And then the third strike, you could just hit them with the serious offense of like, all right, you're off Twitter, which is what majority Taylor Greene got hit with. But I feel like if there was a 3 strikes rule, it would be a little bit more fair. I'm not saying that I disagree with the decision on Twitter's part. I think it's a fair warranted decision. She was spreading a lot of misinformation. It was, totally wrong. Okay, you want to hit her off? Go for it. But I'm saying there are going to be a lot more cases in the future where it's like there's a small group, a small community on Twitter that's calling whatever. But a lot of people are like, wait, hold on. I don't think it's necessarily hate speech. Can we hold the phone for just a second? Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of that. So what my plan is just like, hey, screw that. Do the 3 strikes. I feel like the 3 strikes are going to be like they could be like a systematic rule format that you could follow. And if you're on the 3rd strike, you're out. I think that's fair. And the fact that Twitter very rarely, I don't know about IG or Facebook or whatever, but Twitter, anyone, Jesus, fuck this Wi-Fi, dude, for real. I'm so fucking over this. Twitter rarely strips anyone of verification. That is a problem. That is a problem. You're keeping them with the blue check and then saying like, oh, get out of here. Like, strip them with the blue check. See what happens. I'm telling you, it's a big thing. And they become a normal account and they have the same privileges as a normal person. Their information is incredible. They just look like a normal Twitter freaking person. So yeah, I do agree with the decision for the most part to take Majority's account off Twitter. 100%. She's spreading fucking fake news. Okay, totally. But we need to develop a system of accountability with social media, particularly when it comes to borderline hate speech or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Okay, because there are going to be instances which are a little bit more borderline. There are going to be instances are a little more, I don't know how to say it, but a little more, teetering. And this is not one of them, but they're going to happen in the future. So I feel like it's probably best to get ahead of it right now and to say, okay, let's make sure that framework is in place so that the next time there is something that's borderline, we can hit them with 1 punishment and then 2 and then 3 and then they're out. Okay, that's fair for everybody. You're keeping it universal. The framework is in place for the 3 strikes and you're out thing that I suggested earlier. And if you can do that, I think it'll be great. I think it'll be fantastic. And you are bound to create a kind of healthier environment for speech. But I'm not saying them taking Majority Taylor Greene's account was bad. That was a particular situation where it was so bad to the point where you could probably kick her off and get away with it, and it's fine, But I'm just saying for the future, think about the future because things could get a little frisky in the future. Okay, we're gonna talk about one more thing, and I'm gonna let you guys go. 49 minutes. We got through this pretty quick. quick. Okay, one more. Bay Area high schools. Okay, so transitioned from Majori Taylor Greene's Twitter account to fucking Bay Area high schools. Wow. I couldn't think of a good transition, so I was just like, all right, Bay Area high schools. Okay, so I was on TikTok the other day, as a normal 21-year-old is, and I was going through it, and I found this TikToker by the name of Miki Ray. Miki Ray, or sorry, not Ray, not like Addison Ray, but Miki Rai. Miki Rai is a TikToker. She's like a registered nurse. She does a lot of content, like, basic TikToker influencer shit, and she's popular. She has a lot of followers on TikTok. She's got 400,000 subscribers on YouTube. She's got 400,000 followers on Instagram. It's kind of a big deal. I don't know why, and I don't really know much about her, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But I found her, and she was talking about how bad Bay Area high schools were for mental health. And she was talking about this from the perspective of a Monte Vista High School student because she went to Monte Vista High. So good for her. Shout out to you. Shout out to South Bay kids. So, making it in the world. Nice. Congratulations. She's a blue check, by the way. So that's cool. But she was talking about basically how bad they were for your mental health. And a lot of people around the Bay Area, TikTok creators, who, are very normal people, probably have, 5,000 followers, whatever it is, duetted her with their perspectives. And they, talked a lot about the issue and their hometown friends and how the, environment here is very toxic and all of this stuff. And as someone who has talked about this issue, I did a whole podcast on this. You can go back, episode 4. It's called What Are Competitive High Schools Like? Did with my friend Thomas Jens. Fantastic human being. You should go check it out. Thomas is great, by the way, too. And you can go check it out. You can check out some of our very authentic and raw stories as to what we felt Bay Area high schools were like, particularly our Bay Area high school. And I've talked about this issue at length, and I did a whole episode on it. And I want to add like my very quick thoughts on basically like what I feel about this whole Bay Area high school situation. Okay. I think one of the things that people, when they talk about the Bay Area, they refer to this, they like a lot of outsiders who aren't from the Bay Area just think like the Bay is San Francisco and Oakland and that's about it, right? And maybe a couple other surrounding suburbs. The Bay Area is fucking massive, okay? And it can be split into like 5 different zones. So let me do the zones real quick so everybody knows. The South Bay, which is San Jose to Los Gatos, in my opinion, right? Then you have the Peninsula, which is like Palo Alto up to Daly City. Then you have the East Bay, which is like Fremont all the way up to Oakland. You have the North Bay, which is like Marin up to Vacaville, Santa Rosa. Not even Vacaville. I'd say like up to Santa Rosa. And then you have SF, which is like its own little whack central capital of the Bay Area type thing. Okay, so you split that into all sorts of different zones. And that creates a place of extremes. The Bay Area is a place of complete and utter extremes. Okay, you cannot tell me that everybody in the Bay is rich and everybody in the Bay makes $100 million, or sorry, not $100 million. Everybody in the Bay owns $10 million houses and makes $300,000 a year with benefits. No, fuck that. No one, that is not true. There are a lot of people in the Bay Area who are starving artists. Okay, there are a lot of people in the Bay Area who are working their asses off, working multiple jobs to even fucking afford rent. I know a lot of people like that. I think though when people do say the Bay Area, they are referring to this hometown, and it's like this like kind of term you can toss out there, like I'm from the Bay, and so it's very difficult to like describe that, and I don't blame them. But it definitely depends on where you live. And where you live, you'll have a specific experience, okay? Someone living in Richmond, California, in Antioch, California, is not going to have the same experience as someone who lives in Palo Alto, Fremont, Cupertino, Saratoga, wherever you live, right? You're not going to have the same experience. The Bay Area is one of the richest places in the world, but also one of the most deprived, okay? In that there are a lot of people in this community that are homeless. There are a lot of people in this community that do not have the privileges that we have. Okay, that I had growing up, where I had a house, a roof over my head, access to the best public schools in the country. Like, I just want people who complain about these things to like also put that into perspective. The fact that we had this incredible life. We had an incredible life if we think about it in that sense. I'm also going through this very quickly because my computer is about to die, as it always does. Fuck my computer. Anyway, I think these high schools, though, are located in pockets where it's like pretty well-to-do suburbs. So like parts of San Jose, Cupertino, Saratoga, Fremont, Palo Alto, San Ramon, Walnut Creek, to name a few of these like well-off suburbs that, people do pretty well for themselves if you live from there. So there is a lot of economic privilege in these areas. But at the same time, mental health is important. And I'm not trying to diminish that problem in any way. Okay, because it is. I've been affected by mental health, and a lot of my friends have been affected by the mental health because of the high schools and the surrounding environments that we've been in. But my thing is, if you aren't in STEM, particularly because the Bay Area is surrounded by STEM, Silicon Valley, all of that stuff. So if you're not in STEM, competitive high schools around here honestly shouldn't affect you, in my opinion. Okay, like they shouldn't be. You should not allow them to affect you. And I think as someone like who's removed, maybe it's a little easier to say that because when I was in it, I was like in it. I think like, I went to one of these cutthroat high schools and like I'm in community college now. So like I really understand that truly none of the shit I did in high school mattered. I could have smoked weed, partied, and gotten drunk every day, and I would have probably been in the same place that I'm in today. Right? Community college. That's where you'd be. But I think kids in the Bay are buying into this thing too hard. That's my problem. I think if you buy into the problem, it's not going to help you. Don't buy into what the fuck your STEM friends are saying. Do you. That is the key. You need to have people around you that support you for who you are and support your passions and support what you want to do because because you shouldn't buy into this college hype bull crap, okay? Cal, Michigan, wherever the fuck you want to go, Harvard, Yale, doesn't matter, okay? If you go to San Jose State, if you go to Cal, if you go to Harvard, you're going to be the same person. It's just a fact. Okay. And I think one of the solutions to this problem, real quick, my computer's at 3%, so I'm going to go quick. I think one of the main solutions to this whole problem of competitive high schools that's been trending around TikTok has to be the schools putting grade bumps you have to take out the grade bumps for AP classes. You also should just take out AP classes altogether. College Board is complete bullshit. Take out the whole thing. It's dumb. And the fact is, like, if you take out AP classes, it takes out a majority of the problems. Okay, then the competitive culture, you can address that locally within your school. That's a whole microclimate issue, and you can talk about that amongst your local community. There's different things in local communities, dynamics, whatever. But yeah, those are my very quick thoughts. These public high schools 100% prep you for college. I will be the first person to say that. But the fact is, they treat education here like it's a fucking game. Okay, they prep you on how to crack the game. And I sit here and I know a lot of my friends all around the Bay Area who are in college now doing great things have been damaged because of this environment that we're in. And they think about everything that they do, every decision in life. I see it in the way that they make decisions is based on the Bay Area mindset of like, how am I going to get to the next step? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about what is the next materialistic step? And that's the Bay Area mentality that I fucking hate. So point is, if I had to do high school again, this is my advice to all the high schoolers out there and all the young kids. And I'm sorry if it's very expletive filled and blunt. Don't try. Don't try to be something you're not. Okay? Don't take advanced classes unless you're really passionate about it. Explore your passions. Explore socially. Don't care about your grades and party. Because high school is supposed to be about exploration and about having great experiences with your friends and the people around you. So if you do that, all that shit that you go through, and I'm saying this as someone who was here, right? When people were out partying and getting lit and having fun and raging, I was in my room studying for the SATs, which I got an 1180 on, right? That shit didn't matter. Who the fuck? I'm in community college. The SAT didn't matter at all. So point is, go have fun, go explore your passions. If you get C's, so what? You passed. You'll be fine. High school should be about exploration, not about studying, not about working hard, not about building for this next stage of your life. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out who you are as a person because I'm telling you, at 25, 26, 27, when all your friends are quitting their corporate jobs at Meta or whatever, you are going to be much better off. And I see it with a lot of people that I'm surrounded by. That the people who studied the hardest in high school are often the ones who are the most lost. But the people who didn't study as hard and maybe had a little bit more fun and let themselves go a little bit and were free, they seem to just be happy with themselves, which I think at the end of the day is what you should be. So be happy, have fun, explore your passions, follow your dreams, and party. That's my advice. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this. 59 minutes on the dot. That was my big Bay Area high school rant, so I appreciate you guys going through that. I wish I could have provided more context, but that'll be in the episode. That's in the episode. I talk a lot about context in the episode that was done. Episode 4, you can scroll all the way down with Thomas Jens. What is competitive high school like? If you want to learn more about that. If you guys like this episode of the Changavi Show, feel free to hit the like button. If you guys haven't subscribed to me on YouTube, subscribe to this channel, the Changavi Show. Follow me on Twitter at the Changavi Show. TikTok, Instagram, all of the freaking social media platforms. We do a lot of social media content out here, so it's fun. And I promise you nothing but a good time. Welcome to the community if you're new. Appreciate you guys for joining in and listening to this. Thank you guys so much. My computer's at 1%, so I don't want it to die. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a great night. Have a great day, whatever it is. And yeah, I'll see y'all. Peace.